give you a minute or two if you need it. Otherwise, I'm gonna go ahead and launch this boat. Okay, we're gonna call the meeting to order. It's 11:59. And, if we could start off with a roll call.
Mr. Egan?
Here.
Ms. Lasky? Here. Mr. Jeffdown?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Here.
Ms. Goodman? Mr. Adam Dance?
Here.
Ms. Kaminsky? Here.
Okay, we had an agenda mailed to us, last week. Anyone want to, approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second?
All in favor of approval of the agenda, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, any public comment online? Okay, that takes us to the minutes. I did have one correction in the minutes here.
Sure.
Under Capital Projects Committee, it said did not meet. It actually did.
It did me, okay. I'll make that change.
Yep. Anyone else have a minutes correction to make? Do I have an approval for the minutes?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Deal. All right, so now, the treasurer's report. Susan is not here, so, there it is on the board.
A couple of copies here.
That's
Another copy.
That's okay.
3 pages.
Wow, you even collated. Send it to my copy?
I've got it here.
Got it?
All right, general fund, accounts payable, any question, any comments?
I didn't look before, give me 2 seconds. The attorney fees, just looking over our, what was that for?
The meeting hunt.
Okay. And I'm pretty sure I asked this last time, but, our liability insurance is over the budgeted amount. Is that just because it ended up exceeding what we planned? Okay. And the McGinnis drain work, is that done?
That's, assessment.
Another, I think, one more year on top of this, I believe, and then that will be ended.
And then how does that end up getting, so is it like a known amount every year?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
The
it's
fixed amount was a 10-year bond.
Okay.
paid back through the assessment on our property taxes, which we normally are exempt from, but not from.
Drainage.
Right, I guess I'm good.
You want to, motion to approve that?
Sure. So moved.
This is for the accounts payable, general fund. Do you have a second?
Yes, second.
All right.
Mr. Egan?
Yes.
Ms. Lasky? Yes. Mr. Jeffdown?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Adam Dance?
Yes.
Ms. Kaminsky? Yes.
All right, the capital improvement fund, did we have any movement on that?
No, there have been no expenses out of that.
Okay, all right. Oh, no, do we still need to approve that?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, if there's no action, that's how I remember it. All right, so that takes us to the financial statement then.
I guess I move to approve the financial statements, there are no questions?
Support that.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Egan?
Oh, yes.
Ms. Leskey?
Yes.
Mr. Jeff Dance?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Adam Dance?
Yes.
Ms. Kaminsky? Yes.
All right. So now down to the committee reports. The committees did not meet last time around, but the last meeting, we glossed over one of the committee reports, the bylaws committee. And so I typed up a quick little synopsis of what went on at that meeting there. There's one there, and there's another one.
Thank you.
There's one for the record.
Thank you.
And, and I guess I present these things, there's only one other person here who was in that meeting, and Karen was also a member of that committee. So we can look at these, we don't really have to act on these things right away, but this is what we talked about. So I'll go through these as quick as I can. I just copied down what the bylaws actually say in these various things. We were talking about absences, and I think this is going to involve a little bit more discussion among ourselves. But you know, sure, I copied that completely there. Oh yeah, within 20. Yeah. Defined within any calendar year, the 12-month period. Alyssa, you want to?
Yeah, so this one, that's part of our bylaws today. It's not an enforced part of our bylaws today. I think I went back and tallied, let's see, I think 3 of us from last year would have officially resigned, had that been enforced. But we took a look at it and said, well, how can we look at this? And we did that actually, that was the lens for many of these. It's like, if it's there, we got to enforce it, but let's look at it to make it more practical while still retaining the intent. So a couple of the items that we had suggested or discussed is, let's define what the 12-month period is, so that's within any calendar year. That would, of course, then line up with people's, what do we call it?
Their terms,
our
yeah.
terms, thank you. We felt it would be, this is not to do with the verbiage at all, of course, but in general, we felt it would be positive to add a tally of member attendance to the meeting minutes. Certainly not to shame anybody, but
Right.
just to help us all kind of keep it top of mind. And then the final point there is, we of course discussed, well, excused absences and non-excused, but honestly, like what does that mean?
Yeah.
And so we felt that at the point of more than 4 absences, it made sense to refer members to the Manistee County Commission, and ultimately they could make the decision to say, no, if this person can continue their term, or we need to replace them.
Because I didn't see any way that I had the authority to tell somebody, okay, you're done.
The only thing I would add to that discussion is, and you can't vote via Zoom or call-in.
Right.
But there should probably be a mention of if there's a differentiation between someone attended but via
Zoom.
telephone, via Zoom. Yeah, again, they can't vote. It's almost like not being here, but at least that attempt was made. It shows.
So we actually did discuss that, and we felt, so maybe that suggestion could
That
be.
is, it's down the way here. I think it's on the next page.
But I think ultimately we felt like, well, technically that's not attending because you're not a voting member, but to the point of being referred to the Manistee County Commissioner, that could, be part of the, sort of that story or consideration, right? Like, hey, I wasn't there, I was out of town for business or whatever, but listen, I did still attend. And so that to me would be an easy
Right.
decision from the commissioners versus.
Sure. Yeah, and understanding there are extraordinary things that happen. And we don't wanna have anything just so draconian that, that you get to a point where you can't have any flexibility at all, so.
And how it reads today, of course, not enforced, is
Yeah.
awfully draconian, right? More than 4 and you're out.
Right,
Come on.
right, right.
Well, that's 30% of the year? 5 is 40% of the year?
Mhm.
Right, right.
Could we consider adding, upon the 4th absence, notice will be sent within so many days, so that, it doesn't take another month or 2 for the notice to be sent to the board?
I will be gone for 2, to Florida for 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go March to mid-April, so gone for 2 right off the bat.
Jeff, what would be a reasonable notification time?
Oh, I think once, I would say the communication ought to go to the individual board member and then just send it off to the county commission that so-and-so has been absent for 4 meetings within
Right.
the calendar year, and
Right,
let us chew on it.
okay, that sounds fine.
Within 14 days?
Oh,
Notice would be sent, or?
Yeah, I mean, within a week, I mean, it's just
Yeah,
a notice.
the notice.
Just a-
Yeah,
just
well,
a
we would
notice.
know it right there at the meeting. If you're sitting here, I could hand it to you right now, but,
Right.
okay,
But we've got to be able to know the tally, I guess, is all,
Yep.
as the meetings come through.
yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with a little peer pressure from time to time, so
yeah,
if we're tardy, we, need to be cognizant of it.
yeah.
Now, it does read more than 4, so let's get that cleared up right now.
Yeah, it's more than 4. If you hit 4, you're
Your red line.
you're red line, yeah. Yeah.
So on the 5th is when
Number
it's
5,
considered.
yeah.
Fired.
Yeah, you're right.
That's how it reads that
All right, so does anyone want to make a motion now for a change? Because, and I guess before we get too far into that, we did talk about,
My recommendation would not be motions, because I think you need specific wording
Yeah.
yeah,
to
yeah,
approve.
okay, that's fine. But we'll move ahead with this one then.
Okay, so the outcome of this one is, we'll look to add, we'll update the proposed verbiage, period.
Right,
Adding with, defining within any calendar year, the bit about referring members of more than 4 to Manistee County Commission, and then adding the notice piece
perfect,
to the individual and the commission. Okay.
perfect, good deal. All right, then, secretary, and then we talked about adding the word, after the word secretary, adding who is a board member. And then after the word treasurer, who would oversee and not be a member of the board. Basically just defining Susan's
Well,
role.
we also have recording secretary as well. I mean, that's what Lindsay does.
Mm-hmm,
So we have, I think couple bit down, we talk about
yeah,
appointing a recording secretary.
mm-hmm.
So the thought is in 4.1 that want to deviate from not requiring the secretary and the treasurer to be members of the board, and make them members of the board, or?
Well, no, there's a secretary and there's a recording secretary right now.
There's
And,
a signature and one who actually does the stuff.
yeah, yeah, that's essentially it. I think we were just really not changing anything, just, I guess, defining roles.
Well, and the existing language says the secretary doesn't need to be a member of the board, whereas because the secretary is called upon to sign board documents, they do need to be a member of the board, so I think that's some clarification there. and then leaving just the treasurer, who may not be a member of the board.
Right, right.
Again, that reflects our existing practice.
Yeah, it doesn't change anything.
And then the next one is the discussion on the recording secretary.
Mm-hmm,
So Stacy more officially making that a position that's appointed as
Yep.
opposed to.
yep,
If you wanted to define the board member, you could say signatory secretary, or secretary signator, something like that, might work. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out.
I'm writing it down, that sounds good. Okay.
You know, this 4.4, it says, the chairperson, if present, shall preside over all meetings of the board and appoint an acting recording secretary for
Mhm.
all meetings at which the secretary is absent.
Mm-hmm. See, that gets back into who's the secretary and who's the...
Well, right, I think what we need to do is define what the duties of positions are. The way that this proposal is written in 4.4,
Well,
it assumes, I
the
think.
4.4, that's the existing language.
Okay.
And then the comment below it is
Mhm.
what was discussed. Thus, you're seeing the problem with the existing language, because it says if Jeff is here, we don't need a recording secretary because he's gonna do it, 'cause
We know Jeff ain't gonna.
I like what you said, they're calling a signatory secretary as opposed to a recording secretary. I think that would clean the language up. What do you think, Alyssa? Does that kind of hit the spirit of?
I think changing secretary to whatever you said.
Signatory, yeah.
Mhm. I think, and then I think also the specific verbiage isn't, proposed here, but
Mhm.
the idea of clarifying within the bylaws that a recording secretary would be appointed at the organizational meeting.
Rather than every single meeting,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Mhm.
Do we ever get any legal oversight on how other formal organizations handle this? You know,
well, so these changes, whatever get proposed, would go through legal review. So it would that. But in general, we kind of rely on Jeff to make sure, as kind of our oversight board, that what we're doing is consistent with other boards that they oversee at the county level.
it just seems like
So there's two kind of reviews in this.
we're creating a position of the board for somebody to do a clerical or administrative duty, which is the recording secretary. That really need to be spelled out in our bylaws, that somebody's gonna type the minutes and make them. I don't know, I'm asking. I've never sat on boards where it calls out, you've got a recording secretary and you've got a signatory
yeah,
secretary.
right. That was new to me as well.
I've
Yeah,
never seen
yeah.
So that's what spurred my question on legal review and guidance.
So, I mean, that's a good point. So in that case, because again, our big thing was to clean up what's there. So 4.4, and I don't know, this obviously isn't all of 4.4, but maybe the action is that we just strike that, where we get rid of the mention of an acting recording secretary and tra-la-la, because that's how it's defined today.
Right, because, you know, then when you create a new position for your recording secretary, do they have voting rights or not? That should be called out if they do or they don't. Just,
Yeah, we did say that they would not be a member of the board, somewhere up here, but yes, you're right. That all does need to be in the language, and
You know,
I
I'm all
guess-
about striking it if that's what we can do, not overcomplicate it again.
I don't know, they're just questions that came to me with 3 minutes of,
yeah, but we do have to, understand, we have the signator secretary from the county commission.
Well, it's not from the county commission, that's, you know, that just happens to be me at the position right now. It's not always, it's easiest for me because I'm in the courthouse frequently.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, maybe that ends up becoming a question, where we've got verbiage, wouldn't take long to put together.
Mm-hmm,
If we do have to call that out separately,
yeah,
then here's maybe the proposed verbiage.
okay.
But maybe the other question is, do we have to call it out separate? Can we just X it?
Well,
Then it becomes depending on the answer,
okay. Well, that becomes a committee meeting.
And just thinking then who acts in my absence, because I know I'm on vacation next month when
Yes.
this meeting is held, so I'm just throwing that out there.
Right, right, yeah.
I mean, if they're just recorded and the votes are recorded, I can still do minutes, but, you know, if I'm not here, but just a thought.
I mean, in the past, when whoever's in your role wasn't here, then Susan would fill in.
And maybe that's just something that needs to be spelled out.
But I don't know if she's gonna be back at that time or not.
Should be.
She should be, but, I mean, there's,
Right. But yeah, again,
That's an administrative thing we ought to figure out.
okay.
Okay. But would that be something in the bylaws then?
I don't know, I was
Is that-
gonna think that
We can figure it out.
we should figure that out. Is,
Okay.
You know, supply the,
Note taker.
yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, 4.8 down here, the recommendation was to eliminate that last sentence. Or the discussion, I should say.
Has it been an issue, I guess?
it's not something, again, it's not something that's ever been enforced,
Mhm.
so.
Which that should be covered by any auditor that's hired, I mean.
I would think so. Okay. All right, 5.4, calling special meetings. This is just about calling special meetings, and ironically, you know, this was all being discussed on a pretty eventful day. But, where is it? This was really just, recognizing that email is a thing. It says, like in the, 1, 2, 3, the fourth line down says, or by mail. Add electronic before mail. And adding also for board members receiving emails to respond their availability. And this board's pretty good about doing that. Yes, I'll be there, no, I won't. But, that might be a good thing to have in the future, I think.
Yeah, the summary there is that the current bylaw says that a special meeting, notice either needs to be personally delivered or sent through mail. That's the only way possible to call a special meeting. This day and age is not
Yeah,
practical. Yeah, it's not something we follow.
right. Karen's suggestion was that I go to everyone's house with an invitation. You'll notice that is not written down here, so.
No, it should definitely be freshened up.
Okay. What about the, I don't know if that would be a recommendation. It is recommended or required. You know, again, I hate to be so draconian with some ruling if somebody's out of town or if they're.
It is requested,
It is
maybe?
requested, recommended, something like that. But I know as the person that sends these things out, what a relief it is to see that,
Somebody responds.
yeah, yeah.
And that you're gonna have enough,
That-
have a quorum, to have the meeting.
Yeah.
and
That,
try to
that,
organize.
that fourth response is a great relief, let me tell you, folks.
I can tell you in the admin office, this is a very huge point of contention, because the response of the commissioners is not always stellar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it seems to me as though whenever there's an obligation or a duty to do something, or we make a requirement, we should put a time frame on it. Just is a matter of principle and course, because I could respond to you an hour before the meeting, and
Yeah.
2 other board members could, and they said, well, we responded and we're not coming.
Okay, I'm writing that down, within some time frame.
Reasonable.
Yep,
Well, I would be very specific on what it is, because what
Right.
you think is reasonable and what I think is reasonable are 2
Maybe
different
within
things.
24 hours.
it'll be, when we sit back down and do this, we'll come up with that, but we can.
But like, what's the general feeling here? Because I don't want for us to pick a time that we think is
Well-
Because it's a special meeting, and often special meetings are called
Quick.
not
Yeah.
that far out, it can't be very long.
It's a 2-day requirement. And so 24 hours,
Really the most.
yeah.
18? I don't know.
But you're right, I mean, if I don't hear back, if I call a special meeting and I don't hear back from 4 people, and so now 2 of us show up, well, we've just changed a pretty big chunk of our schedule to be there, and then, whoops, you know,
Right.
you don't have enough people here.
Well, I guess I think that, you can use 24 hours as your time frame. Really. If something's of urgency in our organization, what we do is, I call all the people
Mhm,
and get through.
right. And sometimes you get returns from those, and sometimes you don't.
Right, yeah, right. But some people just don't check their emails daily.
Right.
Correct.
I would probably be one of those, because I'm on email all day for work, and I don't generally check mine, personal one every day.
Yeah, or voicemail or anything, or.
Voicemail, I
there-
will, and text messaging.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So when we sit back down to put together verbiage, we'll come up with some time period and then probably also define, for the person calling the special meeting that if, confirmation isn't received within X period of time, that they'll follow up with phone. And that's kind of mentioned here in the last,
Yeah.
the last sentence, but
mhm,
try to add a point about time fencing, we can,
right.
I think, just spell it out a little bit more.
Well, is there any prohibition against texting?
I was just gonna mention that.
To Cindy's point, you know.
It says by phone.
We said somewhere email electronically, can you just say that, you know, we can communicate by electronic means, and the chairman could use a group text?
Right,
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
More generic.
right. Yeah, and I've done that before, and again, a lot of times you get responses, sometimes you don't, because people get doing things and, you know, stuff happens. But the electronic mail, wouldn't that, could we define that as any sort of electronic means, like texting or anything
I would just delete the
Electronically.
word mail and insert.
electronically?
Communication, and there you go.
Yeah, okay. That sound okay?
Yeah. All in the spirit of updating it to 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding, because I'm not delivering things to Karen to her front door. All right, okay, this gets into the electronic means. And the discussion really came down to 510, eliminating that entire,
Well, we're
that
not
was
allowed
kind
to
of-
have
Right,
it.
that's kind of what
yeah,
motivated the review.
You're right,
is
yeah.
That we have to eliminate.
yeah, mhm,
That would be cool if we didn't, I'll be honest, but we do,
yeah, I know,
yeah.
mhm. Okay, and now, talking about the number of readings necessary to make changes. And the boards that I've been on, we had to have multiple readings before something went through. And, that kind of descended into a discussion. And Karen was going to look into that. Karen is not here, so I really have nothing to report on
So
that. She was gonna look into
the existing
the
language,
verbiage
instead
of
of
that.
having multiple readings, to make sure that it's a well deliberated change, requires a supermajority as a way of kind of ensuring that same process. And multiple readings is a different way of accomplishing kind of that process,
Yeah.
so there's discussion as to what's appropriate.
Yeah,
So I think Karen was just gonna, I think this was one though where we felt like, well, let's not reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Let's just go see what the
Well,
norm
like
is.
zoning laws, I mean, with the zoning law, it's generally you have a public hearing on it, 30-day time lapse for public comment, and then board acts. I believe it's accurate.
okay.
Yeah. That feels way overkill for something
For a
like our
bylaws
bylaws
change,
here,
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever,
I
yeah.
don't know, somebody might have an issue with it.
Yeah.
Well, and another aspect of this, and it's not in there currently, is should the county commission have oversight in improving our bylaws? Or is it something that just we can change?
And I think we kinda, I mean, just spitballing here, I think we kinda have that by having the
Well, at one
representation.
time, we had 3 commissioners on here because of that issue specifically. So there was some changes that wanted to be made, and I forget the whys and wherefores, but that was one of the driving forces.
Okay,
Because we don't need 3 commissioners on here, I'm just saying.
okay. So then, let's go back then. So, multiple readings of a bylaws change.
I would have the initial thing, I'd, put it out for, maybe post the changes on the board someplace, and after that 30 days lapse, I'd adopt it, what the heck, I mean.
Okay.
You gotta give people an opportunity to kick the can if they want to.
Right.
But,
So when you say 30 days, it's logically 2 consecutive meetings.
yeah, well,
And I know that's how.
depends how it falls, yeah.
Their ordinance changes require.
I don't know if there's a legal,
That was
there
what I was
isn't.
wondering.
It's just this concept of bylaws shouldn't be just changed willy-nilly of, for the moment, let's change our bylaws because, we're having a heated discussion.
Yeah.
It's,
Doesn't the 30-day reading address that and the fact that you need a supermajority?
well, the idea is to get rid of the supermajority because people feel that burdensome. And replace it
You
with
mean the bylaws committee feels it's burdensome?
I think that is the concept, yes.
well, committee person? Committee person.
We didn't really use that terminology. We never really talked about a supermajority of any sort.
Well, that's the existing language, and now you're proposing to do
Yeah.
something different.
Well, as far as the time frame goes on this, how about, once the committee meets and reports back to the board, the authority, you act on it at the following meeting,
Right.
whatever time frame that is.
Because you could call a special meeting 2 weeks away or 5 days after the first meeting, and that would be the following meeting, then you wouldn't have a 30-day viewing period.
At a regularly scheduled
Yeah.
board meeting, eliminate that hiccup from.
I mean, the purpose of this review is just to get full board input into what the committee is thinking. The next step is the committee will meet again, come back with specific language for the board to approve, in which case there will be opportunity to make adjustments and change.
Yeah.
But the changes will be under the existing language, which will be the supermajority.
Yeah.
I would suggest we leave the supermajority in there.
Yeah, I don't know how much that was part of our and I don't even know what, I can't, we met like 2 months ago, so I'm trying to think why this was a thing. Did it get flagged because it talks about copies shall be sent by first-class mail, and the previous couple were all about updating them to what's normal and accepted in 2024?
I probably steered the conversation around the
Okay.
supermajority, because in the last time the bylaws were updated, that was the heated topic of
Oh,
discussion,
I got you.
at the board level, so.
And the big thing that and really the only notes I added in here were just talking about having 2 readings, multiple readings of these things.
Yeah, I think the supermajority is okay, actually. And here's maybe why. Like, there might be some things that we end up looking at, and it's like, guys, this is a no-brainer. Like, nobody in their right mind would ever disagree with that. I mean, is that kind of how is that the whole point of the or what's the?
Generally, my experience is that the supermajority is there because the bylaws are your constitution, they're your governing document.
Yeah.
And they should have had a lot of thought put into
Yeah.
them up front. That's generally the
Mhm.
rationale
Right.
behind the higher standard.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So I think we can kick that around
Yeah,
at the
I
next
don't.
meeting. I think we have enough to go on now and come back with a recommendation.
Yeah.
All right. All right. All right, and that is my report on what happened with the bylaws committee that day. The transition committee, just to let you know, I'm going to be out of the country now for the next few weeks, really until the next meeting. But you two, I want to have a meeting with Mead and Hunt, with us 3. And Barry said that they'll meet with us here, so we can arrange for that. But I'll get in touch with you and see, okay, can we come up with a date, maybe a couple of dates that we can throw to them? But I don't wanna make a willy-nilly, commitment right now.
Well, do they need to be here physically, or can they just Zoom in for a meeting? It'd be out of just fine.
They could, yeah.
It's probably save a few bucks, I would assume,
Okay.
some way in that regard. That's fine for a Zoomer.
Okay.
And we could as well, as committee members.
I don't see why not. I don't see why not at all. All right, and that concludes everything I have from the committee reports. No committees met at all since the last meeting, so that was just,
But I will note, we do need to get going on the budget process. So,
yeah.
because it is June,
Yeah.
and if you're gonna be gone for the next month,
Yeah.
we will be behind on that process. So
Okay.
just mention that, and you can figure out how you want to handle that, but.
Jeff, that's you and who?
I don't know if I'm on the budget.
No, I think it was Adam
Adam.
and
I think
Cindy.
it's me.
Okay,
Yeah, 'cause we met.
right.
When does it have to be, turned in, or what's the county's, timing?
Lindsay, you know that one at all?
Well, they're in the process right now. We don't have anything tentatively set.
What's your fiscal year? We'll work back.
Well, it's October 1.
October 1.
So you go into your
30.
public reading, you have a 30-day public reading period.
Yes.
So generally their goal is
There is
to
a
adopt
schedule.
at the end of August, and they've got September if that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it's really gotta be to them next month.
In July.
So,
Presumably at their July meeting.
and our meeting is generally the day before their meeting, so, we could have it prepared and then approved at our next meeting and submitted to theirs, so it wasn't approved yet.
When's your July meeting?
Usually it's the third Tuesday.
3,
Just texted Lisa to say she's got something she can forward me quick.
and we have our July meeting on the 22nd, I believe. Oh, 15th. Oh, yeah, that's right, because I knew it was right after we got back, yeah. And your meeting is the 20-something, Jeff?
In July?
July.
Should be the 16th.
16th, okay. All right, so, if we met on July 12th,
I will not be here.
okay,
I'll be out of town.
and the only other choice beyond that, and I hate to do this, would be the morning of the 15th, before this meeting.
When do you leave, Mike?
Like tomorrow morning, yeah.
Oh,
Going back to Georgia?
No, we're working overseas. I have 20-some odd meetings all across Europe, and, that's a
Well, you know,
monolithic thing.
Barry, do you have a recommendation or a proposed budget, for us? You know, what are we trying to accomplish at the meeting?
So basically, the idea would be for the committee to take, we met once, and discuss things. So I need to finalize pulling together that information and get the final proposal to you for the committee's review and approval.
I don't recall us giving you any direction out of that meeting because we didn't really have information to us, is my recollection.
But there's yes and no, so.
I'm just trying to figure out what we have to do and how to do it, given the days left on the calendar and everybody's schedule.
So, a draft needs to be put together. I'm assuming I'm doing it, and especially with Susan being out most of this month, and I just need to get the stamp of approval and or input from the committee.
All right, could we meet electronically somehow? So let's explore that avenue then. What would be your time schedule for maybe having something that we could chew on?
Not that much effort, I just need a date to,
I've got dates here for you for how we're operating.
Okay,
So, June 10th, the County Board of Commissioners will hold it says several study sessions. We don't have them scheduled. That's already come and gone, June 10th. June 30th is a tentative budget. July 1, July 1, department, courts and agencies review of recommendations for the budget. So that would be the admin. July 14th, hearings take place with full board, so that's when Barry would come with his requested budget.
By my schedule, it's a Sunday.
that's a Sunday, yeah.
Yeah.
What was the other one that you
Well-
quoted, the 30th?
Pull up a calendar, parallel.
I mean, I'll be here on the 15th. I have a conference from the 11th to the
So,
14th
yeah,
of
so
July.
that's kind of so that's the deadline to get it in.
What is it?
Wait a minute.
Hearings take place with the full board, tentative, so we've got a county board meeting July 16th. That's probably the drop dead as far as that. We'll adopt a tentative budget, and then we will move out for another time frame for hearings.
Your department head, when are they supposed, we're a department or
Yeah.
function as a department. So
July 1, so that's Monday, July 1.
So if we wanted to adhere to the standard of all the other departments.
That would be the date.
we need to do it then next week sometime. Okay. All right, so we're on the 17th right now. All right, so I'm gonna be in, you know, I say we're out of town. Yeah, I'm gonna be in Muskegon 18 and 19, and then on 20th, I get on a plane and gone, but it sure would be easy to do it where we're all in the same time zone. What about the 19th? Would that be a doable thing? That's pretty, okay. The 19th maybe, is there a time of day? Because I'm completely flexible I mean, I can make it happen any time during the day. I'm on and off the clock all day.
You know, early in the day is better for me. I've got our monthly board meetings in Illinois are on that day in the afternoon.
June 19th.
I'm available on the 19th in the mornings.
9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning.
9 o'clock works for me. How about you, Cindy?
Yep.
Jeff, you all right?
I'm not on that committee.
Not on that committee.
So are we
Oh, I'm
doing-
sorry,
we're
I'm sorry.
doing this via like a Zoom
Yeah,
or phone?
I'll set up a Zoom and send it out to all of you.
Okay.
And so.
Because you're gonna be out of town, you're gonna be in
Zoom as
Illinois,
well.
so, okay. I'd be the
Okay,
only
you'll
one
be in
town.
Illinois, I'll be in Muskegon, you'll be in town, so.
Yeah,
Good deal.
okay.
You'll be our local representative.
Yeah.
So at that meeting, Barry, would you have a preliminary
Yep.
operating budget?
Yep.
For us?
Good deal.
Now, do you want me to come in for that, since I'm in town, or just go by Zoom as well?
Everyone else again.
Okay, okay.
All right, good deal. Good to get that done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks,
now,
Barry.
given the schedule, is the board okay with the committee then making its recommendations and submitting that draft to the county, even though the full board hasn't seen it?
It's a live document, so, yeah.
Even though the board will have
Hit the-
the opportunity to approve it before the county takes any action, but
Mhm.
we'd be submitting something on behalf of the board that the board make
Sounds
sure
good.
that that's kosher.
Sounds
No.
Keep it in between the ditches and.
All right, good deal. All right. Anything else? Yeah, I think I've dominated enough of the meeting, so. Barry? I'm sorry, old business, any old business that we need to deal with?
Nope.
New business?
Nope.
Okay, now, Barry.
Okay, so I first wanna apologize for not getting this report out sooner. Last week I was just dealing with some health issues and, I've not been fully up to speed on things for a number of days over the last week. So, apologize for that.
You have,
So,
you haven't, have one?
this should be quick, it's just really updates on things, there's nothing new, to really mention to the board. So, no airport incidents or accidents for the month. I had mentioned last week that GSA has some additional water testing requirements, $3,000 that they're paying for. We are now contracted with Meadmont to do that testing. They're also doing it for some of the other airports they represent. And tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., they're scheduled to be here to take samples because water can't be used for so many hours because they're testing for Legionella. Requires stagnant water to test for. So that is moving forward. New billboard lease agreements have been sent out to Wolverine Sign, Lamar, Wolverine signed and returned. Lamar I haven't heard from, and I've also sent them to Coho Bend and trying to get them to start paying for their sign. On the 29th of May, Mike and I attended a FAA workshop up in Traverse City, and it was actually a really good meeting. it's actually with better quality than our conferences are. The FAA just kind of laid out a lot of information in a logical order, and it was well attended by a lot of the airports in the state that are 139, kind of in our category or larger.
Yeah,
So,
but all the way up to, Grand Rapids was there, and, that was nice to see.
and there are a lot of issues that apply to all of us, and then some that are specific to certain airports too.
Mhm.
This is one of the projects being funded through our capital projects committee, and that's the new card readers. The TKF, the company dealing with that, has been taking forever. I mean, I think we're now like month 9 on this project. They have, I think, 1 trip left to finish it. They're now waiting on delivery of the actual physical card readers. They have 5 and they need like 15. So once those come in, that can hopefully be finished. It's been really busy around here for a May, June, and that's partly due to the fact that Ludington's been closed for about a month. They've got a fairly major runway reconfiguration project that's been going on down there. They reopened sometime last week, but we've seen a lot of additional traffic as a result of that, including the UPS flights that normally go into Ludington have been operating out of here for the last month. On the overall passenger numbers front, in May, we were at 931, which is a slight increase, like 4%, I think, from a year ago. Down from 2 years ago, but we have fewer flights right now in May than we did 2 years ago because of the timing of when the summer schedule starts, which doubles our capacity. So May was good. A few more cancellations than I would have liked, but they were, I think, all weather-related. I don't recall any of them being mechanical reasons. A lot of lines of thunderstorms that seem to either hit Chicago, hit here, or hit in between that have led to those weather cancellations. So overall, doing well there. On the airfare front, Grand Rapids is actually having its stellar fares right now for, traveling in July, and a lot is being driven by Delta being very aggressive right now out of Grand Rapids for whatever reason they've decided that to be the case. So that is what it is. Typically, I expect us to be higher in the summer because we don't have enough seats for our demand, and therefore the seats that are left are generally at the highest price point, especially at this point of the year. So you kind of see that average fare across us, Traverse City, and Muskegon is roughly the same, with Grand Rapids being cheaper right now. And then getting in parking doesn't change it that much. And one thing conversation I had with Muskegon recently, they've eliminated their parking fee because they're getting so few passengers right now because of their core service that there's the amount of dollars that they would get from parking doesn't make a material difference, so they're just eliminating it. And they're then going to decide whether or not they ever reinstitute parking or if they just decide to keep that revenue some other way. So. Then, still no update from the state with regards to our ALP update that's now been in their hands well over a year. Our major projects for this year, runway safety grading, replacing lighting, new beacon. We had our 90% plan review with MDOT and the FAA. pre-bid meeting is supposed to be soon. They were trying to schedule it for this week, but that date had conflicts, and I haven't yet heard of when that is gonna be scheduled. But that bidding process will start soon, and we're looking at about a $2 million project in total there. That could start as soon as this fall, but everyone's kind of expecting that it'll be a first of next year construction project.
And is there any special funding request that would be put in our budget that we would have to go to the county for, or are all the funds through grant? No.
These are grants, in fact, it goes well beyond our typical $150,000 a year. It's a pool of money called FAA discretionary funds. So, yeah, no special things, although we do have a match, and the match starts ending up being more the larger the project is. So 2.5% of $2 million is still a substantial amount, but that would be our local contribution.
So that would be $40-some thousand, I think.
Correct.
And would that be kind of a additional à la carte item that you would be putting in your budget?
That will be something that you
guys
will see coming through in a couple days in discussion as to how we fund that, whether that's through fund balance or how that would get happened.
I was just gonna say, the one thing I would request on any new runway lighting, if we ever get an airport runway extension, it needs to have the modifications installed at this time, so it's not gonna have to be a redo. It's just an add-on.
Our T-hanger door project, we had a meeting with Mead and Hunt and the architect that they're using on that project, and we kind of reviewed everything, and I'm basically waiting for them to come back to me with more concrete proposal, and then exactly how that project will get bid out. It's funded through one of the pots of federal money, but whether or not that can be done and bid locally, or whether we have to go through the state to bid that, is yet to be determined. Remarking crack sealing, that's a state funded project, and that contract is now signed, and so we are on the list for that happening sometime later this year. I haven't gotten any dates on that. And then no update on airport terminal. It's really just waiting on the air carrier selection, and therefore, so we know that it doesn't make sense to move forward in that. I just realized, since I mentioned air carrier selection, I didn't actually put a slide in here for that, to talk about the status of that, which is probably what's on everyone's mind. I've heard nothing. So we're just kind of waiting. I've talked with Muskegon. What they've heard through their political contacts, and who've been talking to DOT, is that they're not going to award Muskegon until they also award us, so they're kind of holding back Muskegon until they finish Manistee's process. Since we've applied for alternate EAS, within the last month, DOT has awarded an alternate EAS contract, and that took 3 months from submission to award. So, you know, that hopefully won't be that long for us, but that is potentially the time frame we're looking at, and we're basically a month in, potentially 2 more months of waiting for DOT to finalize their approval process. As I know more, I will pass that on. Then Cape Air performance, May was good. We already looked at those numbers except for the weather cancellation. June is turning out to be very good. Performance is currently improved over May. We've had fewer thunderstorms move through. Passenger numbers were currently up about 25% versus a year ago. We actually might exceed last year's July numbers. And it is likely, I think we will hit the highest load factor Cape Air has done, and we'll actually hit 80+% of seats filled in June. Flights are very full. It reinforces what we believe is that we're turning people away because we don't have the capacity, and we're now doing it in June. I think the way I'm looking at things, we're likely hitting under current capacity with Cape Air, the caps, probably 8 months of the year. So I think what we're trying to accomplish with our recommendation for new air carrier being backed up by what we're seeing.
Good.
And looking through summer, I mean, July and August, we routinely, we know where we're gonna be because we can only get roughly 80% of what seats we have, and, you know, we'll hit that easily. September is currently, though, noticeably ahead of bookings from last year, so even these shoulder months are filling in very nicely. And then, just a quick update on marketing, not much is happening. There's no point of spending dollars marketing for the summer when the planes are already gonna be full. And Right Side Design is really waiting on confirmation of what our new carrier is gonna be to provide the board with an updated marketing plan with that new carrier, in mind. And that's all I have.
Cool. Anything? Anyone? All right.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
the board member comment.
Yeah. Mhm.
You know, I was
Well,
up-
public,
or public, okay.
public comment, just for a second here. And just asking about specifically Barry's report. Okay. And then public comment, I don't think anyone has probably dialed in since. Okay, now.
I was up in Traverse City Airport over the weekend, and I just sent a electronic communication to y'all with some pictures that I took in that airport. Said, what if this was home with a picture of Traverse City, and there were a few businesses that had some marketing material in there. And it made me think about if there was something that we could be doing here. What if Manistee was home? I know Karen and some other board members commented as we were looking to select our air carriers, leakage, people leaving the area. What if they fly into Manistee and they go to Traverse City or Cadillac, or they go somewhere else? Well, as I walked through the airport and looked around, we're not really doing anything here visibly to keep them in town or tell them what's here before they go out and leave our property. So I didn't know if there would be a communication we could have with our local DDA or our tourism bureau, Sammy, to get some sort of marketing material, kiosk, and I just texted pictures.
So I'll connect you on that. So Tourism Authority, they are in the process of putting what they're calling kiosks throughout the county. The first example of that is downtown in the West Shore building.
What about here?
Hold on.
Okay.
The next phase of that is to basically get something in all of the hotels. And then we are the one after that, where in our lobby will be something similar, but probably a little bit toned down from what's in the kiosk downtown. That is already on the agenda, but that's more of a tourism focus, not a you could live here focus, which is a little bit different. But we'll have a place that is kind of designed to capture people flowing through and engage them with information, to add something like that in.
Do you know their time frame?
There isn't one right now, but I would think it would probably be in line before a contour would start in October. So I would think it would be likely to happen over the summer.
Oh, there it comes.
I think mine
That was
was
you
fine.
just now coming in.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, there it is.
Well, you know,
Mhm.
is that something that we should talk about at a future meeting about, you know, what we would like to see, or, you know, whether we involve DDA, chamber, you know, is there an organization that has a focus on living local? It seems to me, based on your comment, Barry, somebody else is saying, here you go, airport.
Well, I mean,
Is
they're-
the
they're
airport
paying-
saying,
They're paying for it, so. you
well,
know,
we're doing a budget,
Right,
should we
but
have
yeah.
something in our budget? Is there something this group would like to see on the offensive, so to speak?
So they're selling this space in the airport, it looks like then. Like Interlochen, I'm assuming that they,
Yeah, they're renting that.
I'm assuming
Or
they-
if there's any advertising, the people would have to pay for that, just like we would for placemats at
Well,
the restaurants or
I would
whatever.
assume, and again, no
There
such
would be no
sentence was I
breakup.
assume, but I would assume that we have whatever space, if we have space available, it's not a matter of trying to make a buck on it, it's trying to matter of promote them to promote us. So if there's a kiosk available, I'm sure we're not that packed that we don't have a spot in here for your kiosk. You know, here, you put your pamphlets over here, you put your pamphlets in here, blah, 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 I'm ready to go. I know if that's the expense, is actual physically, is not gonna be the space, it's gonna be the physical product.
yeah, these are all mostly advertisements for one business or another.
Yeah, the what if it was home was a big banner over the door.
I saw
back
that,
today.
and I don't know MichiganCreativeCoast.com, I don't know who those people are.
I think the only thing I wanted to achieve now is to put it on this group's radar and
Mhm.
come back to it. But to say that in looking at what other airports were doing in relation to what we're doing, I didn't see noticeably anything being done here. And my question for the board is, what is the right way to formalize a review of that?
Well,
going forward?
so, as I said, there's something coming. I know I'll be working with Right Side Design, is actually who is orchestrating that, since they also represent the airport. I'll definitely be involved in that. What I'm hearing here is that I'll add a step in that process, that whatever is going to get proposed, that it comes back here before it gets implemented, so that there's a discussion of, oh, could we add X, Y, and Z? Or you may just say, oh, that's great, and, you know, move forward.
Or start here, so that,
Well, I'm already taking notes of things that I'm gonna add into that discussion.
is there money in the budget? If so, how much?
At this point, I think we are early enough in that Tourism Authority can fund all of this for us. We just need to make sure that we're providing, you know, the input as to what we want to focus on.
Well, you know, maybe, I hope so, but what if we said we wanted an electronic kiosk? What if we said we wanted a video? What if we said we wanted to spend $10,000-$15,000? Is there that sort of resource here to do that or not?
Possibly.
I have no idea, so that's
Mhm.
why I'm asking the group.
Were there any of them up there that were specifically tourism or, you know, like their, Chamber of Commerce or anything like that?
What I would say, a prime example would be when you fly out of Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
You'll have the ongoing
Mhm.
monitor role
Yeah.
of selling that area.
Oh, I think it's great. I think it's a great idea. I was just wondering, do we take it the next step and start selling ad space? Because all of these are ads.
Yeah, except the what if it was home, the other
And that-
Traverse City
I think
Whiskey
that one
and-
is too, actually.
That one looks like
It's a great ad because
It
it's
is,
beautiful,
yeah.
but I think it is, but
Well, you know, I guess my question real specifically is, today, Barry's answer to my question about how do we find $10,000 or $15,000 is maybe. In 6 business days or 8 business days, we're gonna put together a budget. And at that juncture, I guess we go from maybe to it's either there or it isn't, binary. Is it, what's the pleasure of the board on this point? How do we review it? How do we put forward? How do we?
Well, what's the reality of what the DDA, did you say, is already doing? What,
Trevor,
here?
Trevor's
Tourism.
Tourism
is already-
I would say it depends on what theirs looks like and what they plan on doing. Would dictate more of what, do we wanna just go with that for now and see how it works and maybe upgrade next year? Or, yeah, I don't know exactly what they're doing, but
And is
I
that a
don't
cost?
know, I don't know that we need, my personal opinion is, we've got other things we need to do. I can't see implementing a $10,000 or $15,000 budget for that right now if the chamber, the DDA is going to, or whoever it is going to help fund that and
That's my
support that
question,
at this time. See how that goes, see what it entails
yeah, right,
before we move forward and jump into something without seeing what's out there
right.
first. If they're willing to basically pay for.
Mhm.
I will traverse that with Sammy and Stacy and Andrew.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I think this is really interesting though, so we can, I think the formally moving forward, what you guys just said makes sense, but if we, so even the call Traverse Home, like that is an advertisement, but, I think the concept lends itself maybe for us even to consider in the future, like if we maybe were to work with local businesses where we sort of specify the content that we'd like them to curate and make it like one of these advertisements, it could be an opportunity, like a win-win, even in the first year if we didn't sell the space, if we said, if you sponsor this content, you can have your advertising, and then maybe 3 years down the line, we say, hey, this is how much it generated for you. Now we're gonna charge for this, now that we've proven it, but.
You know, I agree. I just think,
Mhm.
given Barry's, comments about maximum capacity and load factor, and in June we're beating July, and now we're getting 30 passenger jet service, we hope. I'm trying to do something, you know, to capitalize on
Right,
people, I mean, it's coming.
yeah.
And so I'm looking for, how can we take action sooner?
Yeah.
As opposed to miss 5,000 people that we wish we would have talked to,
Yeah.
you know, that are on their way in the door.
You know, if we get that, if I was Contour, I'd wanna be advertising on something in the airport.
Yeah.
Let them know we're
Yeah.
coming to town.
If I was one of the realtors in town, I might want to work with us. I might love the opportunity to say, well, I understand the airport saying, like, here's how it has to look. It can't just be poof, Keller Williams, flat in your face, but if they're gonna let me have the space, I know I need to fund whatever, this call it home type of a, I'm not gonna knock off their ad, but that's something as well that doesn't depend on a budget, right? That
Yeah,
doesn't-
so what's the right venue to really put some thought into? We have limited space. Do we wanna sell it? Do we wanna give it to chamber, DDA, tourism? How do we, you know, how do we think through, what steps we wanna take and what timeline we wanna take them? Because I don't think the right venue is, you know, in the next 3 minutes here.
Sure.
So is
I
that
don't know.
committee?
I don't have the answer.
Yeah,
Well, is
I mean, the
there-
kiosk thing is great, and I think if we can
Probably.
sell space on top of that for advertising other things, why not?
Would that be a special committee that would meet to address it, or do we wanna allocate 5 minutes or 10 minutes a month on a board meeting, or what's the best way to?
Well, I think the first thing is just to find out what the tourism bureau is up to right now. and let's see what they have in mind, and then we'll go from there, because we do have a pretty limited space here. We don't have that big,
Right.
big,
Yeah.
way of there. And like I say, these are all businesses, and I'm all in favor of, you know, if we could rent every square inch of the wall space, I'd do it. But,
Well, I agree, that's what I say, we gotta figure out how we wanna use it.
But I also don't wanna shut out the Tourism Bureau and that sort of thing. I think that in the spirit of community, togetherness, I don't have a problem with them just having a place. But let's see what they have set up first,
Should we bring them in to here?
No, they're gonna be here pretty soon. I mean, there's a timeline for when they're gonna have that kiosk in here, it sounds like,
Well,
at some point.
yes.
I mean, we're number 2 or 3 on.
Barry's on the
list.
board, and I'll be seeing Sammy, I'll make a point.
Well,
I guess my simple farm boy thought is there probably is a need, but we gotta develop it. And I think trying to develop is the first step before you try to sell something as much. Now, if there was a cost factor to the authority, I would say at that point in time, so if there was a monitor that needed some electricity's pretty minimal to begin with to run a monitor, but if there's something along those lines gonna cost us something, there probably ought to be a little bit of an offset.
Yeah,
If it develops and works out, and people say, hey, that's a valuable space, let's invest in it so I can have a piece of it. Now we've developed the market, we can start making some money off of it.
right, okay.
I don't know, that's my thoughts. Again, I'm some farm boy.
All right, sounds good.
Barry, since you're on the board, if you can just tell us when they'll have it in there at our next meeting,
Well,
that's my,
I'll
That's what I'm trying to
I'll
assess.
keep you in the loop, and I will bring to you what is being proposed before it gets implemented, so that there's a feedback loop in that.
All right. Alyssa, I think we're gonna get you out of here on time. Anyone else? All right, I call the meeting adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you.